And welcome once again to Investor's Edge. I'm Gary Culp. I'm your host. Thanks for being with us today. Glad you're here, ladies and gentlemen. Happy that you are listening. It is, if I can get it right, July 25th, 2025. Hope you're having a good day. Hope you are going to have a good weekend. I'm going to be walking my dog a lot. Me and Winston, my shadow. My wife's still up in the Northeast watching the grandson. Anyway, in case you don't know, this is serious talk about everything that affects you. The markets, the economy, your job, your industry. Scams and shams and corruption and tariffs and debt and deficits. Whatever's happening, whatever's going on. We do it without any bias, agenda, and ulterior motive. And you know how we know we do it that way? We get it from both sides, ladies and gentlemen. When I compliment Trump, I get people email me, how can you compliment Hitler? When I put him down, how can you put down Trump, who's doing everything for the country? And same with, actually, most people don't like Biden at this point in time. And if you do not get this radio show in your city, we'll post it at GaryK.com. We'll also post it on our X feed. And don't follow us on X, you should. If you'd like to email us, just be nice. It'll also be on the podcast apps. And the Biz Talk YouTube channel. I think it's Biz Talk. I got to check that before I do it. So I am convinced after yesterday, and I'm not going to, but I should do a pro wrestling podcast, though you now have a 24/7 channel, which, by the way, is fantastic on Sirius Satellite. You know who I love the most? Two people. Bubba Ray, which is Bully Ray, and Mark Henry. Those two guys just know their business big time. Not to shrug off anybody else. Anyway, I have to tell you, and we'll get in the markets in just a couple of minutes. The response I received over my talk about my life in professional wrestling, I wasn't a professional wrestler, but how much I've been into it, and Hulk Hogan, holy crap did I get a ton of emails and reactions in response. Only two of you were jackasses, where, he once said, it's funny. You lead a life, you screw up once or twice, and all of a sudden that's your whole life. And don't get me wrong, racism has to be shouted down. But man, oh man, guy just passed away. And in case you don't know, did a ton of things for charity and Make-A-Wish and all that, besides so many other things. And I find it funny when I get these emails from people whining. I was thinking to myself the other day that there's a ton of people that want the Menendez brothers, this is how I think, out of jail. Murdered the parents. Cold-blooded. Oh, but they were abused. No. You know what the story was? They murdered them, said it was the mob, went on a shopping spree for weeks, partying, and then they got a good lawyer who came out and said they were abused. And if they were abused by the father, why did you murder the mother? But people still back that. But no, Hulk Hogan, bad guy. Anyway, you can tell how important somebody's to an industry by the reactions. Holy crap. Big time. It was Ozzy-like, by the way, in the music field. Anyway, no, we're not going to do I don't have the time in the day to do a wrestling podcast, though. I would blow the roof off without a doubt. And I will be at SummerSlam next Saturday night. Taking my son Eric. I went to, what did I go to last year? Royal Rumble. Didn't go to WrestleMania, though. And that's it for your wrestling of the day, ladies and gentlemen, as we go into the end of July, in the midst of earnings, and a few things I have to mention. I'm so depressed. I pride myself on seeing things as they show up in the market. You can't hide bull markets. You can't hide bear markets. They all have their same markings. And recently, after the Trump crash, the markets have come back, but you really can't tell, as the markets are repairing things, you really can't tell what areas are really going to motor. But eventually, you can. Also, there are moments in the market that I recognized, and I only did 2 things when I should have done 50. Back in June, the markets had repaired for a while. You got the crash. You got back the crash within 3-4 weeks because President Trump crashed the market and he knew he couldn't crash it anymore, so he had to get rid of the tariffs. And in case you don't know, massive amount of exemptions while he was talking tough. And what happens is you get to the point where you're repairing the market, but you hit a lot of resistance. And what does that mean? Well, let's say a stock went from 100 down to 75, sat around at 75 for a while, and then dropped to 50 over a period of 2 or 3 months. So the last drop is the crash. The market rallies back up. It's a stock. Let's use a stock. Back up to 75. You had a few weeks where you traded at 75, and you know what happens to that stock right at 75? It stops going up. Why does it stop going up? Because those people that bought it at 75, that was another ledge, are thanking the Lord they're back to even after watching their stock go from 75 down to 50. So they sell. That's working off resistance. And I identified it so beautifully. From May to June. On June 23rd, Caterpillar broke above, just remember, for 6 weeks flat, just flat area. United Rentals, my 2 favorite stock, United Rentals was on the 24th, broke above. Those, as we tell you all the time, my 2 favorite economic stocks that usually lead up or down. Instead, we bought Goldman, and that worked out very well. We bought JP Morgan, was working out very well, but did not trade it well. And of course, we had the breakout in the semis, breakout in the technology. But that June 23rd and 24th, flat area breakouts, I identified it, I recognized it, and I just did a couple of things when I should have been throwing the frickin' darts. And let me just tell you, Caterpillar, the little pivot finished up. The day was the 23rd. The pivot was, if I can get this right, about 365. It's 434 now. What stopped me a little bit on it were earnings down 24, revenues down 10. The earnings suck. But the market's looking forward. And then United Rentals. The next day, perfect little move. Perfect. 735. It's 890. As they reported crappy earnings yesterday, and it was up 60 some odd bucks. Up next. Why are we telling you this? This is the one and only Investor's Edge. So, why am I telling you this? Because I'm my biggest critic. I make myself the most accountable, and you make yourself more accountable by telling. And don't get me wrong. We missed the bear market. We missed the crash. We started buying right when we told you the market confirmed, right after the 22nd of April. So we're fine. But dang, this will be the month, because there's only been a month of not misses, but not playing more aggressively. And I can give myself the excuse, well, you worry about the tariffs and this, that. Doesn't matter. The market is very good at factoring in everything. And all I can tell you, the XLI, which is the industrial index, guess what? Broke out on the 25th. The materials broke out a week later, though they've had some issues because it depends on what stocks are in there. And I can go through a laundry list of economic stocks that pretty much did the same thing. And again, we bought things. We bought DoorDash that did fine. But man, oh man. And what I do now with this is you go back, you print out. I can print out the charts going back to that day and study and remember it for the next time. And how do I know there'll be a next time? Because there always has been. And again, don't get me wrong. We don't suck at this. But man, we're so damn good at this that I cannot believe I wasn't more aggressive just a month ago. Just a month ago. And the second part of this equation is we saw what I call this electric power system thingamabob. That's that GEV and CEG and VST and all those things. And do you know what? We bought GEV. And do you know what? We sold with a small gain. And after we sold, it dropped $30 the same day. And I'm thinking to myself, whew. The next day it bounced. The next day it got back to where we sold. And it was above moving averages. And I knew something's up. But then we're getting within 10 trading days of earnings. So I'll wait. What does GEV do? Well, right before earnings, it drops 40 points. And I'm thinking, okay, cool. Well, on Wednesday, 585. The close was 549 the day before. On earnings, 633. And what do I do with that? I make sure that little doesn't happen again. And don't get me wrong, this is not easy. You got wild swings, you got wild moves. And by the way, if I was going to change anything, GEV was buyable all the way back in May. It was showing strength, May 19th. So we are already doing a post-mortem, not on what we've done right. And let me be clear, we bought a ton of the big indices, starting with April 22nd and adding as we went along. But dang. And we do this going backwards, past bull markets, past bear. But if there's anything about stock markets that we know, we're constantly on the learn. Constantly. But the one thing we will never, ever back away from is never losing big. And knowing when things are topping. That's how we were out of the Trump crash. We were out. And the first few weeks before the 2-day big crash, it was all about uncertainty from the tariffs because he wouldn't keep quiet about it. So the market was already yakking. So now they've learned, and that's the good news. And I'm pretty sure we'll have tariffs, but exemptions up the arse. And as we said to you, 10-15% worked around. Easy peasy. So that's our little bit of, man, we were just looking around today and seeing. And just remember, earnings, there's not much you can do about it. I don't get in front of them. But GEV, how about FIX today? Up $125, gets what they're into. Ventilation and air conditioning for institutional commercial markets. The talk of maybe these data centers. Don't know. In sympathy, before their earnings, MCOR, EME, guess what they do? Construction for commercial. Boom. There's another one. By the way, that kind of, I wouldn't have bought that one, even though it kind of moved out of that flat area also. So that group is mooey sizzling right now off of earnings reports that I tend to not get in front of, because for every good earnings move, I can give you a crap load that I'm going to be looking over on the weekend of earnings blow-ups. And we've had quite the few in some important names. IBM blew up. Chipotle blew up. Southwest Airlines was acting well, blew up. Otis Elevator blew up. SAP blew up. Texas Instruments blew up. Canadian National blew up. How about these managed care stocks? Holy crap, huh? Tesla blew up, though they bounced it today a little bit. The analysts were out defending the hell out of Tesla because they're getting their you-know-whatted. I trust them as far as I can throw them. And for all you Tesla people, $300 looks like defense. Up next, we'll give you the numbers for the day, the week, and whatever else. This is the one only Investor's Edge. I never would ever think that the commercial construction stocks would ever, but this whole talk of what may occur. Well, number one, there's some good earnings. Other names are Sterling Infrastructure. You ever hear of that? STRL. Building Construction and Transportation Solutions. That's another one that's been on the move. Mastech, MTZ, Construction. They report in about 6 days. What's the other one I was looking at? How about, no, that's not a good one. I think you get the point. I don't have to do any others. TPC, one more. Tutor Perini, building/heavy construction. That's your day. Now, next week, let me just report to you, in case you don't know, I have 12 pages of earnings. There's about 50 per page, so that's about 600 names. In this page, let's see what I got for you so you know what's coming. And why do I think the Fed is next week also? Let's see. You got Apple and Amazon Thursday after the close. They're both in the Dow, and I believe they're probably about 15% of the NASDAQ 100 and a bunch of the S&P. You got Coinbase, which has been in fuego. Let's see. How about MasterCard and Visa? Visa's in the Dow. Chevron in the Dow. Exxon is no longer in the Dow. Crashed Regeneron Pharmaceuticals, LPL Financial, KLA Tencor, KKR. How about Roblox? Here's another one that's been strong. Quanta Services. Building/heavy construction. They report next week. Agco, Biogen, Sketches, Alibaba, Facebook. What day? After the close? Is that Tuesday or Wednesday? After the close Wednesday will be Facebook or Meta. Oh, by the way, Meta and Microsoft same day after the close Wednesday. But also after the close Wednesday, Lam Research, Qualcomm, Robinhood, Western Digital, Ford, eBay, Carvana, Arm Holdings. How about Wednesday before the open? Wingstop. How about Old Dominion Freight, Harley Davidson, Garmin, Checkpoint Software, Hershey's, Humana? How about Tuesday after the close? Boeing, Visa, Teradyne, Starbucks, Seagate Technology, Landstar, the truckers. How about Monday? You ready for this? In the Dow, United Health, Procter & Gamble, Merck. Also, Corning, PayPal, Royal Caribbean, Spotify, Booking Holdings, Cheesecake Factory. I love their Bang Bang chicken and shrimp, by the way. So a crap load of earnings next week. And again, the Jell-O was moving on the plate this week like I haven't seen. Imagine FIX up $125. A heating and ventilation company. They must be doing a lot of heating and ventilating, ladies and gentlemen. So that'll be next week. And what we do, just so you know, we have separate parts of our screen where we put all the big gappers up so we can watch them. We had a few this week that gapped up and reversed badly. So guess what? They go off that screen pretty quickly. And we stay in touch with the ones that continue to act pretty darn well. And we'll do a little bit of Mannix and Barnaby Jones and Cannon, their private eyes on what these companies are doing and why. And all that crap. On the day, the Dow was up 208. Goldman, again, up 10. Microsoft, Microsoft I thought was up 7 at one time, but only finished up 280. McDonald's was up 4. McDonald's has been lagging pretty badly over the last year versus other things. Caterpillar up 4. We mentioned it. American Express holding the 50-day up 4. Visa up 3. And today, nothing really down. Amgen was down a couple. S&P up 25. NASDAQ only up 50. NASDAQ 100 only up 52. Transports, though, 183. Better action in the transports. Union Pacific was crushed yesterday on earnings, but bounced a little today. Let's see, Ryder, symbol R, reported earnings, sales growth, 0. But a new yearly high today. And I must have missed that when I did my scan, so I'm writing that down as I speak to you. I would have found it later anyhow. So the transports, a better tone to some of the retail, not all, but better tone. And there's a few names I'm actually watching for potential. Something like, you ever hear of Boot Barn? BOOT. You know what the problem is? They report in 4 trading days. We'll keep an eye on that earnings report. And a couple of Urban Outfitters acting pretty decent up here. We'll see if it decides to break out. The same areas we've been telling you to avoid, stay avoiding. Nothing's changing there. Yields were down again today, which is good news. The dollar was strong, but came in a little bit at the end of the day. Gold was weak today. We'll see what next week brings. Advanced declines, flat on the NASDAQ. They were bad all day, but they came back better at the end of the day. New York was about 25 up, 16 down. China was weak. Japan pulled back today. I just think the story right now, and we talk themes here, this building/construction area, which I screwed up but good, that's some strength. And by the way, there's some numbers to back it too. We'll see how it plays out. We'll keep reporting to you. In AI land, NVIDIA was down, but ARM, AMD, Broadcom, Taiwan Semi were up. Those 4 are pretty much the head honcho top dog big cheeses of semis, while so many other semiconductor stocks are separated from strength out there. And I'm just looking to see anything else I need to report that stood out. I just think the big story, massive amount of earnings in the Fed next week. The president says he is not going to fire Jay Powell. As I have told you, he's so wrong on going down to 1%. I understand he would want rates to come down. I think Powell can do that, but maybe a half a point. If you want to complain about Powell, you complain about it when I was complaining about him. Printing the $7 trillion, 0% interest rates, and sitting there while inflation was skyrocketing. By the way, that he caused. He should have been fired back then. And all this Justice Department crap is a bunch of BS, and it really pisses me off. I don't want any administration doing that. Oh, let's go after a refurbishment and try to get him fired. That's horse crap. And I would tell to their faces. Do you know what the Republicans would be doing if a Democrat president did that? Oh, they did. Huh. And just remember, I think Trump was completely railroaded by the Democratic machine. I still remember the ass clown in New York trying to say Mar-a-Lago was only worth like 20 million, I think they said. Do you know Mar-a-Lago, I would guess, is worth $250 million? Somewhere in there, based on property around there. I would say probably, at the worst, 150. That was such railroad. And I don't blame Trump for being pissed on that. And I guess I can't blame him for retaliating some. They were trying to destroy his life and put him in jail. And by the way, if he'd become president, I think they would have put him in jail. The clowns. So good news that he won on that front, and good news that he won on the fact that Kamala Harris would have been president. And she shouldn't be running a lemonade stand. And certainly Biden. And to show you just how bad they were, the border is locked up. And it was done within a month. That's how bad they were. They did it on purpose, those clowns. Up next, Week in Review, and whatever else. This is the one only Investor's Edge. And welcome once again to Investor's Edge. By the way, think about that. Biden let in 10 million people. People died drowning and in the back of trucks, and the media blacked that out, those scumbags in the media. Let in 10 million, flew them on planes in the middle of the night to different cities around the country, had the mayors of these cities house these people using taxpayer dollars, Admitted by Mayorkas they didn't vet everybody, so who the hell knows who came in? They told us she was the border czar, and then the media tries to cover them by saying, they never said as a border czar. What, they think we're morons and we're not watching? Those jackasses. And then 6 months before the election, when Biden sees his poll numbers on immigration were lower than root canal, jock itch, and herpes, we better do something. And what does he do? The media blamed it on the Republicans because Biden said it was the Republicans' fault. And all of a sudden, immigration mattered. And during that time, Biden said, well, it has to be an act of Congress. We got to have Congress. Well, we can't do it ourselves. You can't do it ourselves. Trump handled it in a month. You know, all he had to do was get people down there and close it up. And now little kids are not being farmed into the United States by a bunch of scumbags there. No one's drowning anymore trying to get here. Nobody's dying in the back of trucks anymore trying to get here. And guess what? Those people that want to come here now will have to come here legally, the way it should be. That's how bad Biden and Kamala Harris was. She should never, ever, ever run anything in government ever again. Just for that. Think about it. Look how easy it was to fix the problem. They kept saying, oh, it's confusing, and this is something that's been going on for 20 years. Now, I disagree with Trump on the deportations. There's got to be some humanity there. And right now, it seems like there isn't. They're throwing everything against the wall and wanting it to stick. But I'm reading stories of somebody that's been here for 25 years with a family, paying taxes, running businesses, doing good. Hell, I'll give them a pathway. There's got to be some humanity in there. And hopefully, I'm hearing they're learning some lessons. But the crooks, get their asses out of here. The ones that don't want to work, get their asses out of here. The evil, get their arses out of here. But I'm hearing a few too many stories. Humanity, don't you think? Yeah, I guess some people are going to disagree. That's what makes the world go round. Hey, that's my immigration thing today. I had to bring that up because, man, it so pisses me off. I hear Kamala Harris wants to run for something now. Don't even give her a dog catcher. Tonight, SmackDown, 8 o'clock. They are going to be remembering Hulk Hogan. I will be watching that, just letting you know. I think it's, what is on, USA, I believe, still? SmackDown, I think it's USA. And they're bringing in a bunch of legends to celebrate. Yay. Market's acting fine. What have I said to you? The big indices, eventually they will. But so far, caused no trouble since the confirmation day, April 22nd. They've been riding up not the 50-day moving average, but the 21-day, which means it's that much stronger. It's getting close to unprecedented, which means we're getting close. That said, I think there's a component. I think the market knows that come next May, President Trump's going to be running the Fed through some proxy person, and you know what he wants to do? I think there's a component, but I also think a component is the American people and American business are kicking butt. That's my thought. Not everything, But I think people are going to work, working hard, wanting to do well for themselves and their families, ignoring Bernie Sanders, AOC, and this yutz trying to run for mayor in New York City that wants to control their lives. I think that's what's going on in the market right now. If anything changes, we'll let you know. On the week, I think we're up about 1% on about everything. The big story this week is the earnings. And man, oh man, there's some wild swings going on the earnings front, both up and down. What it does, it takes away some stocks away that I have to look at, but adds a few. Something like, by the way, ServiceNow, NOW, opens at 1,050 on earnings, closes at 996. It drops to 968 all the way down. Guess what? That goes on the other screen. GEV goes on the front. Gaps up, gets moving, follows up again today. That's how we keep an eye on everything. And during earnings season, couple hours earlier, couple hours later, and double it up on the weekend. I've already started scanning for the weekend right before the show. I've already scanned up to 2.5 million of volume, and we'll do the rest to the highest volume. And we already have a decent feel of what things look like going into next week. If there's anything to worry about, market isn't worried just yet. Again, if that changes, we'll let you know. That said, you have a great weekend. Drive carefully. When you get home, do like we do. Quite simple. Make sure you hug your family. Make sure you hug your children. They will feel better. You will feel better. I promise. Stay well. Be well. Always appreciate you being here. Good night, all.